Hi everybody and welcome to the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Today on the show we're going to be talking about using StreamYard for presentations. So we're going to be unpacking some of the features that might be helpful in that regard, whether you're presenting for a town hall style meeting or a product demonstration or behind the scenes, that sort of thing. So that's coming on today's show. We are going out live to all the various places, so let us know in the chat where you're watching from. And I know Said is watching from Germany and it's 1 a.m. there, so I did give him special permission to go to bed at some point and watch the recording later on. But thank you for joining us. It's so great to see you here. Sam, how have you been? I understand there might be some new kittens in your life.
That's right. Yeah, we got a mama cat and her kittens. That's 7 kittens that we're now fostering, in addition to the 2 we already had, and the 4 house cats, giving us a grand total of 14. Is that the math? Yeah, something like that. It's intense, or 13. I don't know. Yeah, you can see them all over at our Twitch channel for Cute Avalanche. And then just running around doing a bunch of other stuff. I've been doing some UGC videos for some clients, which are sure to be bizarre, and we'll see what they think. So, how's everything with you?
Everything's going well with me. Again, like you asked me some version of this question each week, and every week is just a blur. But I think I managed to get through it relatively unscathed this week. It's interesting because earlier in the week there were some issues with LinkedIn Live, and I believe they're resolved now. But it was one of those things that I'd invited hundreds of people to join us on LinkedIn, and I thought it'd be just my luck if this was the week that everybody decided to show up and it didn't work. But I think that's okay. So hopefully we'll be all right in that regard. I never know whether to keep trying to make this a thing, stop trying to make fetch happen, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you are watching live, throw in Team Live as a hashtag into the chat. And if you're watching later on, you can do hashtag Team Replay. But we are talking all about StreamYard today, which is, I guess, that's probably a good place for us to maybe start. Sam, what actually is StreamYard? I realize we're inside of this program today, but if anybody hasn't heard of it before...
Sure. Yeah. StreamYard is a web-based streaming software. So if you wanted to get into live streaming and you didn't know where to start, you had no idea what software to use, anything like that, StreamYard's available. It is both free and paid versions. So you can easily, put yourself out there on stream. StreamYard kind of is one of the main softwares that focus on multi-streaming, as well as giving the users a quick and easy UI experience. So pretty much all of the basics that you could want are available to you. Things like adding cameras, multiple cameras, overlays and text, and playing videos and switching between different kinds of scenes are all things that are built into it. And because it is a web-based sort of thing, it does at a certain point peter out to how professional you can get it. It looks pretty nice from the start, but how professional, how customized you want to get it will reach a limit at some point. But beyond that, great software.
Absolutely. And I guess it's useful, I think, for us to acknowledge that you and I are probably in some ways power users and control freaks. So we like to... We don't always love embracing the defaults, but they certainly give you a lot to work with to start with. Just want to say hello to Walter Strong III, who's actually joining us on YouTube, who's no stranger to, I think, either StreamYard or live streaming. And and there's a comment here about the floating mic. We've spoken about this in previous shows, but there is an element of green screen trickery in everything I do because of the place I'm located. So some people love it, some people are not into it, but I've made my peace with it, so I'm just going to roll with it. So I guess, in terms of actually going live, let's talk about why it might actually be a useful thing to do in the first place, and maybe some of the applications. I guess in the circles that I run into, a lot of the times the things I hear is, but John, isn't streaming just for kids playing games? And Honestly, that is one application, and that's great and wonderful. But it's not really what I'm personally interested in. I'm sort of more interested in sort of creative and teaching and business applications.
Yeah.
So I wanted to unpack some of the things that you might want to consider for your business or side project. One of those might be a town hall style meeting. So actually announcing features to your audience and getting that real time feedback, which can be really, really useful. Not only in terms of maybe, what are the pain points your audience is struggling with, but also, whether they're understanding the things that you're trying to communicate in real time. Because sometimes you might need to clarify some points. Again, it's one thing to tell somebody about your product, but it's an entirely different thing to actually show them how it works. And we'll show you later on in this stream how you can actually use multiple cameras. So, if you're doing craft or you're demonstrating a new piece of hardware, you can actually get up close and personal and show people not just what your product is, but how it works and what the steps are involved in actually using that as well. As a teacher, I spend a lot of time, or a former teacher, I guess, in some sense, I spend a lot of time sort of demonstrating software, and that can be great in a video format. You can do that live, you can do that pre-recorded, but the great thing about that is that you can have a recording that you can send people to whenever they need it. So creating some on-demand content can be really, really useful too, and you can record that in whatever software you like, but StreamYard, does have recording and streaming options built in as well. And, you can go behind the scenes and think about some case studies as well. And I think, again, this is a great place for us to actually talk about Qt Avalanche because, and again, maybe you can explain to some of the people in the chat that might be new what that is and how you use live video specifically to feature that work.
Sure. Yeah. Qt Avalanche is a project that my wife and I started. We have been fostering for 6 years, and we run a 24/7 live stream. But within that, we do 3 weekly chats where we actually get on camera, make the cats take a side, and we actually talk to the community. And, what I was going to say is pretty much when you're going into a live streaming format, it is about interaction. The kitten cam is itself sort of an anomaly to that because it, does get quite a few views because cats on the internet is very popular, but there is an interactive element to it. We try and keep the chat flowing when we're not on camera as well. So it is still a community place, but we do these chats where we give updates on the cats and kittens. We talk about what we've been doing as fosters. We answer cat care questions, any kind of questions about fostering or cats, or the cats that we have and things like that. So it does become sort of a town hall meeting with our community. And often we'll have like mini meetings with our moderators just live in front of the community. Like these are things we need to do. We need to work on stuff. Yeah. So that is what we do.
As someone who's kind of on the edge of that particular community, like the thing I've observed the couple of times I've been able to join you for one of those is that you become Qt Avalanche has become a part of the routine of a lot of the people in your community. Like it's become part of their lives. And also, you're really showing behind the scenes in terms of, what you're doing. And if people make donations, how that money is being spent for Amazon Box Day, you would literally open up those packages on the live stream. So it's a great way. And again, I think this is hilarious. I'm just going to put it up on the screen. Somebody's asking if you can explain what a cat is. And I'm sure this is somebody that's known to you.
Yeah, that's
right. And that might be a great topic for the podcast at some point. Not this one, but just getting around, which we'll talk about in a second. But I guess, in terms of actually doing things live though, and, I love creating recorded videos, edited videos, but doing things live, it can often free me up because I don't have to, I don't really have the option of doing 3,000 takes in a way that my inner perfectionist might want to do if I was recording offline. So again, it's a great way of sort of, just hitting the button, committing to whatever it is that you want to share and actually going through the process of doing that and not being too much of a perfectionist. I think that can really be a stumbling block for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Like the beauty of live is that the audience is very forgiving. As long as the sound is good and you're not destroying their ears, they're very forgiving about even the video quality and, mistakes and people just tripping over their words and things like that. So it is, a great platform for, I just need to get this out there. I don't want to spend 20 hours creating a video that is, hyper active, trim, and, whatever it is. This needs to be there now.
And we're going to comment here. I'd rather watch cats than people flipping water bottles and dancing on the internet. Team cats. It's one of those things. And again, I watch an obscene amount of TikTok. But one of the big trends on there at the moment is people just throwing glass bottles downstairs to watch them shatter and break. And I'm like, why is this a thing? It's so bizarre to me. But anyway, today we're talking all about live streaming for presentation purposes. So if you've got a message to share, if you want to teach somebody how to do something, and we're looking at StreamYard specifically as a way of doing that. There are other types of software out there. It's often a good idea for you to explore those a little bit, and we have videos on some of those other options in the archives as well that you can check out. But we're going to come back and talk a little bit more right after this.
We are constantly training our cats every interaction that we have with them. Mm-hmm. So when Johan would get on my counter before, this is 10 years ago, before I was the cat expert that I am now, Johan would jump on the counter. What was the first thing I did? I'd say his name, Johan. He loves that. That's a reward for him. He said, you just said my name. I would go over to him and I'd talk to him and be like, you can't be on the counter. Johan loves when I talk to him. Ding, that's another reward for Johan. I'd pick him up and put him on the ground, but I didn't want him to think I was mad at him. So when I'd pick him up very nicely and kiss him on the head and say, I love you, but you can't be here. I'd put him on the ground. I had just done 3 things that rewarded him for being on the counter. So I was encouraging him to continue doing that.
That's a segment from Sam's podcast, Just Kidding Around, which you can learn about more over at cuteavalanche.com. It's funny, we always ended up talking about cats for obvious reasons, but it's been particularly heavy on that subject this morning. But we do love our cats. I just want to check in with the comments for a second. So Trevor over on LinkedIn is saying hello, and that LinkedIn is indeed working because, as I alluded to earlier, that was not the case earlier in the week. So thankfully that seems to be resolved now.
Great.
LinkedIn Live seems to be playing nicely. So let's talk about actually setting up some events in StreamYard. And again, I have a feeling that a number of the people watching at the moment who are themselves StreamYard users probably know how this works, but I think it's important to sort of unpack some of this. So, in terms of the, I guess, first of all, and I mentioned this earlier, but you have the option to go live or to record. There's a third option, which I'll talk about in a second, but you need to think about your destinations a little bit. So these are basically the options that StreamYard will give you. You can go live to a Facebook page, a group, a profile. On LinkedIn, a page or a profile. Again, you need at least 150 connections on either of those to make that happen. You can go live on a YouTube channel. You can go live to Twitter. You can go live to Twitch. There's something called Hoppin'.
I have no idea what Hoppin' is.
I have no idea what that is either. I saw it earlier in the week and just thought, I've never seen that
so
before.
Random. Yeah.
And of course, we have the custom RTMP options. So if you do want to actually stream to another place that isn't listed there, often that's a protocol that a lot of them support. I know Sam adds a whole bunch of these things to our show every week. I don't know where half of these things go, but...
For those of you interested, we do add a bunch of custom RTMPs, so you're able to add DLive, Trovo, live.space, kick.com, which is very popular right now. Pretty much anything that's out there, if it has a server URL or an ingest URL and a custom stream key, you can add it to StreamYard. I believe you have to have the pro or higher plan for the custom RTMPs, but yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll talk all about that in a second. There's so much going on in the chat, though. I just want to acknowledge that briefly. Jamie's saying hi from LinkedIn. Trevor and I have already communicated a little bit about this morning, but Trevor is switching from Restream to StreamYard. So a little bit concerned about the controls. So if you've got questions about that, let me know in the chat. I know Trevor often likes to have the entire chat overlay on screen, which is not something StreamYard actually does at the moment. So we might need to find another way of doing that. Say it's asking about the virtual camera, and I'm not really... So, yeah, okay, StreamYard itself does not have a virtual camera. That is a good point. I'm actually using, and again, I sort of alluded to the fact that I'm always in front of a green screen, so I'm always doing something via OBS Studio, and I know that some of you like that software as well. So I'm using the virtual camera out of OBS Studio in StreamYard to do this show and a few other things. So, okay, so Trevor is telling me that Hopin is the parent company of StreamYard. So that's interesting. I didn't know that. Hello to Insomnia Doodles, who's joining us as well, who claims to always be hopping. And she has no idea what StreamYard is. So we actually have a great opportunity to introduce you to that. Although I know I've seen Insomnia Doodles streams, and she's already got a pretty sick setup. I don't think she needs to change, but yes. Okay, cool. So getting back to the subject, and it's so great to see so many people in the chat. We love that. So in terms of actually creating an event, and again, you can kind of just go live whenever you want to, but it's a good idea to set up an event ahead of time. That way you can promote it. You can invite people depending on the platform that you're going to. So in StreamYard, which is web-based, browser-based software, we can go to the home section. We can create a new stream or recording. From here, it'll actually give you 3 options. So you can do a live stream, and you can either do that within their studio, or you can actually do it with a pre-recorded video. You can do a recording, so that's not going out live, but you can record it and potentially edit it and send it out to various places. They do also have the on-air webinar feature, which is a premium feature. You do have to pay extra for that, and I didn't realize that we had access to that on our account level until quite recently. So I'm really keen to check that out at some point in the future. But essentially, live stream is pretty much where we live at the moment. So if we select live stream, we can click through to the next screen. This is where you'll actually select your destinations, and you can go in and add the destinations from this screen, but it's often a good idea to do this ahead of time. So whether you've got YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, all of those custom destinations, you can go in and select a number of those. How many depends very much on the plan that you've got. You can add a title and description. You can sort of scroll down and actually add in. You can choose to schedule this for later. So that's the part of it that I alluded to earlier. So we're not doing it straight away. And there are some restrictions there about LinkedIn specifically. You can add a thumbnail, and you can sort of specify the time. I really like this time feature actually, because it'll show it in my time zone if I'm setting this up, or in Sam's time zone if he's setting it up from his end. And the screen after this one, which I don't have a screenshot of, is the ability to customize for each destination. So if you're going out to Twitch or Twitter, I think, you really only have the title of the... Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but I think you've only really got the title to work with.
That sounds right. For Twitter, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and especially for Twitter, like that's the point at which I want to do the @ symbol and some usernames and let people know what's going on there. But you can go in there and add different features. They'll have different character count limits for titles and descriptions on different platforms. It's often a good idea to actually go to a live streaming destination and just customize them even further after you've set the event up.
Yeah, especially like YouTube has specific things, like if you want to record your chat replay, things like that, add a thumbnail, you're going to want to do that on that platform specifically. I feel like we should note this one thing, which is we have a ton of destinations in there because it's both me and John using this account, and I use it for Qt Avalanche. You probably won't have that many destinations on here unless you have like the enterprise account. But I also wanted to, for legal reasons, put out that StreamYard did gift us this pro plan in exchange for me doing a video for them, but they are not sponsoring us in any way. Anything we say here is our own thoughts.
Absolutely.
And opinions.
And it's funny. I don't know if Walter Strong III has seen our show run document, but he's literally setting us up for the next segment. Yep. So let's read this out. He writes, "What are some ways that a person using StreamYard as a beginner can invite guests to their live stream?" So That is, I love you for that. The check's in the mail.
Like
But
90% of what we're
let's
going
talk
to talk
about that. So once you've actually got that, once you've set up your events and you want to go live, we have this great ability to invite a guest to actually become part of the show. And what you do right down the bottom of this screen, and you'll see a lot of screenshots of this today. But down the bottom, we've got these options: mute, stop cam, settings, present, invite, and leave studio. If you click on this invite one, it'll actually give you a link that you can share with your on-camera guest. And, I've obviously blurred some of that out so you can't see the real link. But basically, all you need to do is copy and send this to your guest. There's also an option here called guests can stream to their own destinations, which is new. That's something that Restream has had for a long time, but is relatively new to StreamYard. So again, if you want to share the show out to your guests, LinkedIn page or their YouTube video or whatever, that's an option there as well. You can toggle that one on and off. And essentially, if you share that with them, again, depending on their level of technical comfort, you might need to walk them through a few things. Again, it's always a good idea to make sure they understand their equipment. Maybe you can ask some questions about it ahead of time. It's a really, really important that you wear headphones. This is a hill I will probably die on. So the problem with not wearing headphones is that if you're using speakers and, what's coming out of the speakers can hit the microphone, you can set yourself up for audio loop hell, and it is really painful for all involved, and people won't hang around to listen to that. So I don't know if there's anything else that we need to mention. I feel like I've been talking for a long time, Sam, so feel free to jump in.
Sure. No, I would say that, if you've used Restream or B.Live, StreamYard parrots most of those features and functions. They have a few things that are different, like you can actually, as opposed to Restream, you can actually create custom scenes where you move around some of the assets on here. Restream does have a few things outside of the live streaming functionality, like stats and analytics and the chatbot that's built in. But as far as the live stream experience, StreamYard and Restream are like 90% the same. It's just a difference in UX.
And it's funny because the settings option is so identical. I kind of wonder if there wasn't some original software that was forked off for all the different platforms, because they're so similar. It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Trevor's just reaffirming the fact that audio loops are indeed terrible. They're really, really not great. StreamYard actually does have its own giveaway tool, and we were actually debating about whether to show you that today or not, and we're just not organized enough to do that.
We'll do it next
week.
But
essentially,
we'll do it next week.
Basically, like what happens is you can get the people in your audience to use a keyword or a hashtag, and they've actually got a little bit of software. You just go to StreamYard.com/giveaway. You can set up some parameters for that, and essentially when you're ready, you hit a button and it'll actually pick somebody at random who use that string, and that can be really, really useful. It's a great way of keeping people engaged, and especially if you say we're doing a giveaway and we're doing it at the end of the show, so don't leave early. Unless, of course, you're in Germany and it's 1 a.m. and you need some sleep, in which case I totally understand. So again, just checking in with some of these chat comments. So I have some budget wired in-ear headphones that are great, hard to spot on camera, and also never trust Bluetooth. Those are great observations.
Yes, that's true.
It's funny because I know so many people that are very big into the in-ear monitoring. I don't love it for a variety of reasons, but also the big chunky headphones hide whatever weird thing my hair is doing on any given day. So I kind of love them as is, but I had actually been looking on Amazon recently, so I might make a change there. Also, Trevor is commenting about the Restream chatbot. So that is a great, and again, that's a Restream feature, not a StreamYard one. It's kind of useful, and I'd love to, I might make some content about that on LinkedIn next week. But essentially, to the platforms that support incoming chat messages, you can actually have them repeated. So if someone's watching on YouTube and somebody else is watching on Facebook and somebody writes the Facebook comment there, it'll be duplicated over onto the YouTube comments as well. Not all features actually, like not all platforms support that. LinkedIn doesn't support that at all. It doesn't work there at all. And that's probably why Trevor hasn't seen it, because he does a lot on LinkedIn. But again, it's really, it's a nice feature, but again, I don't know if it's nice enough to pay for. And, you know, Trevor and I can probably have a huge, long conversation about StreamYard versus Restream another time.
Before we move, like, not that we should segue to completely be talking about Restream, because we are supposed to be talking, our intention was to talk about StreamYard. It does that chatbot relay that John's talking about. It does also have the ability to make custom chatbot commands. So you like type !Discord in your chat and it'll pop up with a message that says, here's my Discord link. So it can do all of those kind of things. Personally, I prefer either Mix It Up app for Windows machine or Batissimo if you're doing multi-streaming to deal with those kind of things. And we've definitely talked about that in a previous episode. It was so long ago, I don't remember if it was a live stream episode or a pre-recorded episode, but you can find that in our YouTube. And maybe we'll bring that up again in the future.
Absolutely, and that's a place that Sam is very, very nerdy and very technical, and it blows my mind every time he talks about it. But it's fascinating. Hello to Ender Trading, who's joining us over on YouTube. Great to see you. There's so much happening in the chat, but I feel like we probably need to get back to our topic. Although I'm not sure if there was anything else in this segment that we needed to address specifically. Let me just see where I'm up to. So again, like in terms of inviting that guest, you know, that's very straightforward, and it's funny. We love OBS Studio, but again, this is inviting a guest requires a few extra steps in OBS Studio. Whereas with StreamYard, it's a couple of clicks, copy and paste that URL, send it to your guest. Try to you know, encourage them to get there early so you can sort of troubleshoot any settings. Yeah. You want to make sure that they select the right devices in terms of camera and audio, and you have to do that whether you're a newbie or an advanced user, because sometimes your computer will just want to default to something weird that you haven't touched in years. Literally happened to us this morning, so keep that in mind as well. But once they're there, like it's really just a matter of putting them on the canvas. You do have some options to either, you know, take them off the stream, or to actually make them go full screen. So if I just do that for Sam for a second here, this is what they call a solo layout.
Oh, this is nice.
So this is when you're ready for your close up, Mr. DeMille, as we say. You can there's just a little person shaped button that you can click on their stream to have them in there. It's also a great way of taking them out of the stream. So if you get a phone call or something, there's a private chat. You can let your co-host know that that's what you're running away to do. But you know, there are a whole bunch of layouts. It can be really, really really fun to experiment with those. Okay, so we're talking all about StreamYard for presentations today. We're going to come back and talk about branding and presenting in just a moment. But before we do that, wherever you happen to be watching this, we'd love it if you could like and subscribe. That would be really awesome. We do appreciate that. And right now, here's a shameless plug for my podcast.
And then I looked at the first assessment, and the first assessment was record a 5-minute video. And it was a pretty simple introduction of yourself. There was nothing exciting. I didn't have to research. It was just a 5-minute warm up. And I freaked out. That course is still sitting in the cupboard beside me. I see that stack of papers and I almost rock in the corner. It cost me a lot of money to sign up, and I threw the whole course away.
Okay.
I can. Okay, there we go. It seems to be a bit of a look back, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll move on. So essentially, that's just a segment from my podcast, Build a Presentation Muscle, all about demonstrating your expertise through content creation. And in that episode, I was talking to Michelle J. Raymond about getting comfortable with being on camera, because I know that's something a lot of us struggle with. So you can check that out over at johnlacey.com. Okay, so today we're talking all about using StreamYard for presentations, and we're going to talk about some of the presenting options that we have in a little bit. But first of all, let's talk about branding. So obviously, Sam, we've sort of alluded to the fact that there are a number of different layouts, but can you talk to us about that for a moment?
Yeah, so StreamYard comes with a bunch of pre-created scenes. I'm not going to go through them for our podcast listening audio only people, but as John showed you, you can do like the full screen with just, to isolate one person. You can have a dynamic amount of guests come on, and then the video chain will sort of adjust automatically for it. If you do have a presentation like a slideshow or other media you want to talk about, you can have that front and center and either have your cameras on the left-hand side or like a little picture-in-a-picture of just your host talking. And you can custom create your layouts as well so that you can manipulate the assets how you want as best possible. Yeah. And you can upload.
And it's funny, as much as we keep saying we don't want to talk about Restream today necessarily, the first time we came to StreamYard, my favorite thing was this layout that I've set up here today that has us side by side with no gap in between, because I designed all these graphics and they just didn't align to anything that was in the options within Restream. It was so annoying. But anyway, let's not stress about that too much. Big hello to CG, who's joining us in the chat
CG.
as well. Awesome to have your company here today. So let's actually talk about some of the branding options that we have within StreamYard. So again, I've got some screenshots here to walk you through this. First of all, this isn't actually technically part of the branding tab, but there is a banners option. So this is the place where you can have a banner at the bottom of the screen. It could be URL, it could be just a couple of words. There are also tickers that you can have at the bottom of the screen as well, which will just flash by. I personally find those a little bit distracting, but they are an option, so you can certainly explore using those if you want to. But let's have a look at the branding tab specifically. So this is where a lot of the magic happens. So you have the ability to specify a brand color. And this brand color it's only one color, and it's sort of used predominantly for the chat and the banners. You have a number of different themes that you can pick from the list here. You can see them on the screen: bubble, classic, minimal, or block. There are options to show or hide display names and headlines. There's a logo option there, which we don't even actually use on this show, but you can upload a logo and have that in the corner of the screen. Interestingly, the StreamYard people themselves have a weekly stream and they don't use that feature. They've actually got their logo sort of built into their background. And it's funny because somebody asked them once, how do you get that in the center of the screen? And it's like, well, you can't. You have to do something different. But anyway, let's keep going with this. So as we go down the list, you'll see that we've also got these overlay options as well. So any graphic that you want to appear on top of your stream can be in here. And this can be, this can be a solid image that covers everything, but it can also have some transparency in there as well. So let's put this one on the screen. So this actually just has a couple of QR codes for our websites, Soundproof TV and johnlacey.com. And because the transparency is built in, you can have those appear on top of your scene. So it doesn't really matter too much what graphic software you use to build this out, but the important thing for the transparency is that it's a PNG or GIF format. So
yeah, I would say with something like this, keep in mind that you kind of have to do a full, 1920 by 1080 or whatever your resolution is, because StreamYard's just going to position it where it's going to position it. So if you want it in a precise spot, you kind of have to figure that in advance.
And additional pro tip for that one is set up your scene, use the layout that you want, take a screenshot of it, and then put that in the graphics software so you know where you want to put this stuff. And just make sure you take out that layer when you go to export it. So that's really cool as well. So in terms of the branding options, the other branding options with the overlays, I don't have a great screenshot of this, but also in the brand tab, we have a section for videos. So you've got video clips that you can play. You've seen a couple of those already today with promos for our podcasts. But you can have any kind of video. We've got another one where Sam's going to demonstrate some features of StreamYard coming up a little bit later on. And you've also got backgrounds, and these are actually the things that are underneath your cameras. So for this particular stream, I've got this sort of tabbed interface with live events, branding, presenting in there as well. So there is also background music. I don't like mentioning that because I generally find it's kind of annoying and distracting when I'm trying to listen to somebody speak and there's just music going on in the background. Okay, cool. So there's a little bit going on in the in the chat, so I might just check in there. But Sam, like, is there anything that you would recommend that we think about in terms of the branding and the layouts?
Yeah, I mean, in addition to what I already said about, being precise about those kind of things, I always talk about these, create a master document so you have like just references of what you're going to use going forward, or you can create like a template for, we have like these tabs that we use in every live stream. So you just have a template that you can adjust every time. And be aware of, the reoccurring fonts and colors that you're using and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I actually did a whole show on this while Sam wasn't here probably a couple of months ago. So if you want to check that out in the archives on either of our channels, you can certainly do that about visual branding for content creators. Okay, so I just want to check in with some of these comments before we continue. So Murphy's Law, system updates only happen 2 minutes before you want to go live. That's often really, really true. So, resist the urge to do those. Don't make any huge changes before you do go live because anything could happen. And sometimes, like, I love my Stream Deck. Last week, just before the show went live, it wasn't working. And all I needed to do was reset my computer to get it to work, but I just didn't have time. So sometimes you've just got to roll with the constraints as they pop up as well. I just want to check in with, so Ender's made some comments about choosing destinations, and there's a lot that we can potentially unpack here. In fact, I don't know if there's a specific comment I want to call out, but I guess before we do move on, I'd love to talk about that a little bit. So obviously, a lot of these multicasting, multi-streaming software that's out there gives you the ability to stream in all of the places, but how do you sort of think we should go about deciding where to go live and maybe where to put our focus? Because it's really tempting to want to be everywhere. And sometimes, like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. And I'm a big proponent, as Sam knows, of if I've got content I'm giving away for free, I just throw it up everywhere and just see what happens. But I also have personal goals for my content and destinations that I prioritize over others. So, I'm pushing people to YouTube and LinkedIn more than anywhere else, but I have lots of things going on elsewhere. Do you, and admittedly, I know, Sam, you add a lot of destinations for this show, but how do you recommend that people think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole multi-streaming thing is something you really have to pay a lot of attention to. It was something that we, Cute Avalanche, adopted early on because we were like, well, it's the internet and it's cats. Everyone likes cats. So we threw it out to a wide net as we could, just to see what would happen. And when you do something like that, really pay attention, like go week to week and like check out the analytics, check out the community there and all of that thing and see if what you're doing makes sense to keep doing at that level. And if there's a point where, everyone from a specific platform seems to really take that on, maybe you consider doubling down on that platform and making that the one location and like cutting it off. So, I think it's a valuable tool to play with. It can be kind of a bear to keep up because, as we say, almost every show, don't spread yourself too thin. And while it's easy enough to get on a StreamYard, to get on a Restream and be like, I'm going out to 20 different destinations, you have to think about, are you actually interacting with that audience? Are you giving them the same experience on all of those, 5, 8, 20 platforms, because there is a point where me just talking to you over the live stream is one aspect of it, but having the time to go in and update your title in every single platform, update your some of these platforms have like panels or descriptions to be able to update all of that thing. That's extra work on your plate. So if it gets to a point where you're like, I'm not really doing that for X, Y, and Z platform, maybe it's time to pull it back.
Absolutely, and I know Enda was referring to, I guess, prioritizing
Rumble.
YouTube over other things as well,
Yeah.
which I think is totally fair. And like, you know, especially on YouTube where you are rewarded for having 1,000 subscribers. You are rewarded for having increasing watch time. I guess anecdotally, I find it's very hard to get people to leave a social media platform to go somewhere else for the most part.
It is.
So
You're lucky to get 10%.
absolutely. Although one other thing, and again, I didn't have this on the list to talk about today, but you can actually, like, one thing that I do is that I really only put this show on LinkedIn and YouTube, on my side of the fence, if you will. But I will actually do a replay during next week and just say, hey, this is the replay. If you want to join us live next time, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I send that off to Facebook and Twitter predominantly. Yep. So, I mean, there are all kinds of options. And again, I wish there was a silver bullet, like we could give you a definitive answer. But I think it's important to try things out and get some feedback and just see how you go. So there are a whole bunch of other questions and comments. So Trevor is asking, is there good control over the background music? So in terms of the background music, I guess the first thing to note is you can't, I don't think you can add just any old music. I could be wrong about, no, you can now. You can upload your own music. But essentially StreamYard will give you the ability to use up a bunch of their tracks. You can basically turn it on. You can adjust a volume control. There is actually an option to fade tracks in and out. So I guess it's not a single track looping all the time necessarily, although there is a loop tracks option. So again, it's not something I've had much experience with, but it's certainly something you could try out. And again, you don't necessarily need to be live to try that out in the studio experience either. So just see how it goes. Like I said, I tend to find that it is a little bit distracting for me. And I follow someone on LinkedIn, and I really like their content, but they just had this music looping backgrounds. And after a while, I realized I was so in tune with that music that I wasn't hearing a single thing they were saying.
Yeah, I tend to not do music with live streams for a multitude of reasons. One being I just don't want to deal with the risk of copyright infringement, because even if it's a copyright-free, a royalty-free track, there's still bad actors out there on sites like YouTube that are going to find something close enough that they can report it to try and like monetize off of your content. Like, this is still a very common problem, even though one of the worst of them has been in litigation for a while now. But also on a personal level, I can guarantee that the music I like is not the music you're going to put on your stream, and I want to listen to my own music. So if you have music playing, there's a very good chance that unless you have just the most interesting content, I'm out.
And I've got to say, as someone who watches an obscene amount of TikTok, every now and then there will be something I want to watch, and I just can't bring myself to watch it because the music is so obnoxious.
Yeah.
And I just can't bring myself to do it. So, keep that in mind. And again, like, I probably, like, it's at the end of the day, it's up to you what you want to do, but those are some considerations. So I just want to check in with some of these other contents, other chat comments. There's so much going on. I love this. So Walter Strong III from the Huddle, because StreamYard, I think, is a web-based browser, it is important to be hardwired into a router to prevent poor internet connection.
That's true.
And this is actually sort of like the better connection, the better experience everybody will have. And it's interesting. I spoke about my my Elgato key lights last week, and one of the weird quirks about those is that they're powered by Wi-Fi. Like, they're actually controlled by Wi-Fi, and I don't want my computer to rely on Wi-Fi for my streaming. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the way I get around that is I just use my phone to turn them on and off.
Yeah,
But
in
whatever you
general,
can
if you're
do.
live streaming, don't rely on Wi-Fi. Be hard linked to your router. There is a tool called Speedify that will give you sort of a backup using your phone as a hotspot. I haven't used it, so I can't talk to it, but I know they exist. So, if you have spotty internet, that's something to check out.
And I guess the other thing is if you can't physically be connected, one thing that I've used for years that has worked really, really well for me is a power line adapter. And essentially, you plug it like it's just something you plug into a PowerPoint. It uses your home's electrical circuits to send the signal from your router to your computer, and it's great because I don't have to trip over cables up the hallway of my house, but I still get really decent speeds. Okay, I'm just loving all the chats. So again, this might be a slightly controversial one, but I'm sure it's one that Sam can speak to.
Yeah.
This, obviously, so the question is, isn't multi-streaming even prohibited by certain places like Twitch, or is it only if you're an affiliate program? So yeah, I mean, there's certainly in recent weeks they've had things in their terms of service, and I think that they back off some of those things, but I know that you use Twitch, so
yeah, in general, I don't think the normal user is locked into that. I don't think that passed their terms of service. I actually haven't changed. They did release that they were, considering doing that, so it was just carte blanche. Anyone who's a streamer can't multi-stream, and I think they backed away from it. But yeah, their affiliates, their partners, do sign terms of service against that.
absolutely.
I don't know if anyone else does that. I don't think any other platform really has it. I'm sure Twitter will.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of hilarious to me, but Trevor writes, I listen to Spotify in my headphones while I'm monologuing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's always an option. Okay, cool. And he's also saying that he's hardwired to the router. So this is awesome. Whatever you can do to improve your speed is certainly worth exploring. So yeah, that's definitely worth exploring a little bit. There are some comments that are totally on topic, and there are some that are kind of weird. So I'm just trying to avoid those. But I
feel like maybe we should push through the rest of the show itself, and then maybe we run a little long and take chat questions.
Absolutely. Let's do that. So before we get there, though, Sam, do you want to tell us a little bit about your Discord channel?
Yeah, please. If you are a creator, you are a live streamer, you have questions outside of the show here, please join me on Discord, samproof.tv/Discord. I have a creator corner. You can opt into specific channels for if you're a YouTuber, if you're a podcaster, if you're an artist. And we just have a community there that can talk about all these things. And I can answer all of your questions about StreamYard and OBS and Restream and chatbots and anything like that. And you'll see when we do this stream, you'll see when I do my own personal streams. So yeah, it's free to join. Go ahead. Join me.
Absolutely. So check that out over at samproof.tv/Discord. Okay, this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined as always by Sam Proof. Today we're talking all about using StreamYard for presenting, doing presentations. So I think we should probably need to get into the actual presenting aspect of this. So let's just talk about some of the options that you have. I guess one thing I did allude to earlier was in the branding options, you have the ability to upload videos and play them through the software. And there is actually an option to stream videos from your local computer, but I kind of don't recommend you do that because you really are at the mercy of your internet connection. But let's talk about some of those sharing options. So let me just show you this one to start with. Okay, so again, down the bottom of the screen, let's try this one actually. So down the bottom of the screen, we have these options to present. So you have options to share your slides. You have the options to have an extra camera. You do have that option that I just mentioned to stream a video file. Again, I don't really recommend that, but it is there if you want to play with it. But you do also have the ability to share your screen. So this is quite an easy thing to do. If you go down, click the present button, click on share screen, the next dialog box that you will have will basically give you the options to share a Chrome tab, a window, or an entire screen. Again, it's worthwhile thinking about what you're actually presenting, because if you're just showing them a single program, then a window might suffice. But if you want to show them a couple of different programs on the same screen without sort of having to reshare each time, you probably want to think about an entire screen. But essentially, go down there, you share that. And again, you probably need to think a little bit in terms of what your actual layouts is within StreamYard. But essentially, that's how you do that. And it's pretty straightforward. So Sam, let's we're going to play a video that you kindly produced for us a little bit earlier in the week about actually using a second camera. But do you want to say anything to set that up?
Yeah. So, I mean, I pretty much talk about why you would do this in there, but we talked about how you can do an invite link, but you may have stuff in your setting that you don't need to do an invite link for. You can use this method instead. There.
Absolutely. Let's check it out.
All right, we're going to take a look at how to add a second camera to your StreamYard experience. Now, this is an in-person second camera, not somebody calling in. So maybe you have a product shot you want to do, or you have an in-person host, co-host, or guest. I like to use this for a top-down camera on my board game streams. There's a lot of applications. So let's go into StreamYard and take a look. We'll enter our dashboard experience, our studio here. Let that load, obviously. You come to the initial camera setup, and if it's not there, you hit the settings cog to select your camera and the resolution for that camera. Once you're happy with everything there, you can enter your display name and enter studio, add yourself to the stage, and now you come down to the bottom icon set and hit present, find extra camera, and if it doesn't already show you your second camera's feed, you can go down to the camera drop down, select a new camera, and again, change the resolution. Hit share, and then add to stage. And of course, this works with all the pre-created scenes that StreamYard comes with, or you can make your own custom scene, and maybe I want this product shot bigger. And there we go. I can talk about this product in a e-commerce style stream and manipulate it live and answer questions that the audience may have about that thing that is over in our second camera. Hope that was helpful, and I'll see you on the live.
Okay, so I mean that's great, especially if, if you're doing craft, if you're demonstrating a piece of I was going to say software, a piece of hardware, perhaps, cooking channel, anything where you might want a second camera, that can be really, really useful. So Trevor asked about something, and I just wanted to acknowledge it before we move on because it is relevant. So I can't actually find the there it is. Okay. So in terms of sharing your screen, Trevor asked if that includes sound. So just quickly, if I go to present and share screen, I realize you won't be able to see this, but I'm just double checking my settings as I go. So for the Chrome tab option, there is an option to share the tab audio. And for the entire screen, there is an option to share system audio. Again, it's a really good idea to try those out before you go live, just to be aware of what you might be sharing. You don't get any audio options for sharing a specific window. So if that is something you want to do, you're going to have to think about that a little bit as well.
So along these lines, we've showed that there's multiple ways to do a few different things like share video. You can either put your video in your brand tab and then share that, or you can do it as a present. And I believe the major difference there, aside from the fact that the present shares it locally and sometimes it can be a little skippy, I believe the big difference there is when you present it as, or not present it, let's not be confusing. When you use it from the brand tab, it will mute the mics for all, yourself and your guests. And I believe when you present it, the mics stay hot. So if you want to be talking over something, that is the reason you would use that. But it does act a little funky sometimes. I don't know. It could be a GPU issue.
That's definitely something to keep in mind. So when you do have a video from the brand tab, once it's playing, everything is muted. So don't share something with the expectation that you'll be able to narrate over it. So that's another thing. These comments are so entertaining. So another life hack: always clean your desktop before sharing it.
Close everything.
And I guess to be really honest with you, because we're doing a show about StreamYard in StreamYard, so there's a reason why we're working from a lot of screenshots and a lot of pre-recorded material, because it's very difficult to share the program that you're using in real time. And even when I do OBS Studio tutorials, I will run a second version of OBS just to make that happen. So, all right. And again, there's a comment about being too old for Discord. I must admit, it's not a place I spend a lot of time, but it is worthwhile exploring. But getting back to the subject at hand, let's talk about actually sharing slides. And I'm going to add this. This is going to be a bit meta, and I haven't actually tested this. There we go. So I'm actually going to show you how to use slides with a slide pack, and this will include the options here. So first, again, if you go down to the present option at the bottom of the screen, go up to slides, and then if I click on this to go to the next slide, you'll have the options there. I got that one in there twice, but that's okay. So basically from here, you can actually upload some slides. I believe it supports PowerPoint, PDF, and there was one other format that's escaping me, but you'll work that out. You can upload that from your computer or from Google Slides. If you've already uploaded it previously, you can actually select this from the list. Although one thing that we did notice this morning is that this list seems to be based on user. So I can see my uploads and Sam can see his uploads, but not necessarily both at the same time. But again, if I go through there, I can bring that up onto the screen. Just make sure that you've actually selected this one from the bottom here. And then you can sort of talk through your slides. And again, you can be on camera in the way that we're doing that right now, or you could do your own thing as well. There's a little option there, little arrows to go next and previous slide. And there's also a drop down, which will just list out the slides in order. I don't personally find that part of it particularly useful, but again, it might be something that you want to explore there as well. So, you know, and in this example, it's kind of funny because in this example, the thing that I'm sharing live is actually sort of a widescreen a slideshow, but the one that's featured there is sort of a square format. So it doesn't really matter too much what sort of way that you're attempting to do this. You have some great options there. And again, I'm just checking in with the comments for a second. So Trevor is saying that he found out that no audio on Windows the hard way. Yes. So sometimes, I mean, it's true of any software, but if you're going to try something that you haven't tried before, it's always a good idea to go into the studio and try that ahead of time. And Insomnia Doodles is writing, this seems like a really versatile program, and it really is. Okay, so thank you for joining us. If you have been joining us there, that's awesome. So again, there's so much happening in the chat, and I love to see it. It's really, really awesome. So let's actually just give me 1 second. This is the joy of going live, is that things will definitely go wrong. So it's a good idea to actually have some backup plans. I'm going to actually just add this back to my screen, and I'm going to feature that one for a moment. Okay, so that, of course, was the slide walkthrough, and we've got that there. We sort of started this show before we went live. We started this a little bit earlier, and my camera has this great feature where it turns itself off after a certain amount of time. Anyway, that's fine. I'll just remove that right now. So again, thank you for joining us today. Yeah, it's always a good idea to have a panic screen set up. That is really, really a good idea. So again, you can certainly set up a be right back screen easily enough. Whatever you want to do. Sam, I'm sure some of you probably gathered, but Sam's had some technical issues. My camera
nothing.
literally switched
Squirrels.
itself off, so it was a great 5 minutes of
Oh, wow.
of
Good timing.
live streaming there. But we are sort of reaching the end of the show. So if you've got any questions or comments that you'd like us to address, please let us know in the next couple of minutes as we start to wrap things up. So yes, absolutely. Always a good idea to have a panic screen or a backup. So Sam, as we begin to wrap up, can you tell us where people can learn more about you and find you and what's your content and all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can head over to my website, samproof.tv. You'll find all of my social links at the top there. And I'm generally live streaming over on twitch.tv/samproof or uploading shorts on YouTube and TikTok and things like that. And if you like, and you can scan this QR code, if you like the cats, join Cute Avalanche, cuteavalanche.com. You can find all our links over there. And again, they stream on Twitch and YouTube.
Awesome. And if you want to catch up with anything I'm doing, you can head over to johnlacey.com. I've got a whole bunch of articles about OBS and some other things there as well. And there are social links at the bottom of that page. All right. So, I mean, so some of those technical issues aside, and it's hilarious that they all happened at the same time. But I mean, the great thing about that is if that is happening, you can send your co-host a private message in the chat. You can take yourself off camera. You can make them a full screen. There are all kinds of options that you can consider there. I just want to really briefly... So again, I think we did the slideshow, we did the second camera, and we did the screen share. So again, if this sounds like something that might be worthwhile for you, you can certainly check out StreamYard at StreamYard.com. They do have a free option. It does have some StreamYard branding on it. You'll see their little duck on your screen, and you won't be able to turn that off unless you do actually pay for an option there. But it's a great place to start. And again, you can start for free. You can try it out and get a sense of whether it might work for you. And if it's something that you want to work with on an ongoing basis. I guess some of the other options that we weren't going to cover today, but we might just mention really, really briefly, is the ability to schedule a pre-recorded video as a live. Yeah. And especially on a place like Twitter that has, I think you can only upload a video of like a minute and a half or something. So if I do have some content that's longer than that, I'll often go in and schedule that as a pretend live and put it on there as that way. But there are some options to repurpose and make short clips and different things. I don't, again, it might be just me being a control freak, but I don't feel like they currently give me as much control as I would like in terms of resizing and
the repurposing tool is like very basic. I would sooner download the archive into CapCut and go from there. I will say that along the replay side of things, once you do a live stream, it does store that archive for a certain amount of time based on your plan. And it automatically gives you the ability to reuse that content for the repurposing, schedule a replay stream and things like that, which is great. It also allows you to record individually any of the feeds that come in. So it's like my camera, John's camera, any of the screen sharing we do. It records all of those as isolated tracks. So they're full screen, full resolution tracks that you can download. There may be some, upload issues. It's not always perfect, but it's better than nothing.
Technically, it's in beta at the moment, so it'll probably get better over time. But
so far, it's okay.
The biggest trick that we find is you've got to remember to turn it on because you're going to have to turn it on each time, which is kind of annoying. And I've asked them to maybe make that a default for us, but. Again, you guys, you have no idea how much you're talking our love language by talking about OBS Studio. And
yes,
we need to probably come back and do a show on OBS very, very soon. So, Trevor's saying that he'll check out the OBS stuff. Said, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, is a great person to follow on LinkedIn. Some great, very funny content. So I prefer OBS because it gives me more options, plugins,
Yes.
features to tinker around with, but still great to expand my horizon and check out other tools. And again, the thing that Saeed, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I did, forgive me, I'm probably quite dumb, but I did go to your LinkedIn profile to listen to the audio pronunciation, but I'm still not confident. Okay, Saeed, there we go. That's good to know. But again, like, I guess the other thing that I try to explain to people is that there's always a little bit of OBS studio magic in anything I do. And I kind of, a part of me wants to press a button and show you some of that, although it's probably not set up particularly well, but we'll give it a go. So because I'm in front of this green screen all the time, like I can press a button and I can show you some software in the background. And that's happening in OBS, but it's, you know, yeah, everything that we do is happening in OBS behind the scenes. Sometimes we will record vertical versions of our streams here as well for TikTok and YouTube Shorts. There's so much going on there that it's great, but I guess what we do find is that for our audience, there are a lot of people that just aren't ready for this, or it is just overkill. So we want to give you some options. But again, it sounds like maybe we should talk about OBS next week. So thank you for that feedback.
I mean, we've been wanting the OBS audience to come find us because so if you didn't figure it out, go ahead.
I was just going to say, every time we do OBS content, and our audience, our immediate audience doesn't get it, but it does so well on YouTube generally because people are seeking that out. So again, we'll certainly do some content on that in the near future. So was there anything you wanted to say before we wrapped up, Sam?
I was just going to point out the obvious, which is if you didn't figure it out, we are using the OBS virtual camera, both of us, into StreamYard as a camera.
Absolutely. And it's a bit of a soapbox. I don't really want to get into right now, but a lot of the companies that make paid streaming products will just look you dead in the face and say OBS is scary and hard,
right?
And it really isn't. Like, it really isn't. It's there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's a really useful thing. You can do local recordings with it. You can change how you look on any program on your computer that supports webcam with the virtual camera feature. But again, we're getting really excited and nerdy. Maybe we'll do this next week. So
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us. The turnout's been great. We really appreciate the chat, and we'll talk to you again next week. If there are particular topics that you'd like to hear more about, let us know in the comments, and have a great week and a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon.